Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms across the Front Range today, across the northern Rockies, and then even portions of New Mexico. We've also got some storms out in places like Idaho. So we've got 3 areas to watch for storms today. It'll be a scattered to mainly scattered showers and storms today, but the risk will be pretty isolated for severe weather. Tomorrow, the Northern Plains joins in that storm action that we have. That goes all the way up into Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota tomorrow afternoon. And then, hey, are you ready for that heat to return? I know that everyone pulled out their hoodies for those cooler nights in the 60s and 50s, but we are going to see temperatures return to August-like temps. So we're talking about 80s and 90s, maybe even mid to upper 90s for some people. So we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening across the country right now. We've got a low pressure system that helped to initiate storms across western Kansas yesterday. We'll talk about those storms, but it's kind of moved off to the east into the central portion of the state. Other than that, we're mostly dry out there. Just a few showers to talk about. Nothing severe right now. A few showers off the east coast at the moment. We've still got ongoing rain in Florida. That will contribute to the flooding issue that we have not only today, but also through the rest of the work week. Current temperatures are in the 60s and 70s. So I mentioned we're seeing that warm up. We're kind of getting a sneak peek of that warm up today, and we'll see even warmer temperatures tomorrow. So what happened yesterday? We talked about all of those large hailstones in southern Kansas and northern Oklahoma on Monday. Was that right? Monday night. So Tuesday, we were pinpointing the western side of Kansas, eastern Colorado, all the way down to the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle for storms, and that's exactly what we saw. We saw some large hail out there. We got that tennis ball size hail that we mentioned. We absolutely got some large hailstones, some strong wind as well as we headed into the overnight hours with not 1 but 2 rounds of storms here, anywhere from Texas all the way up into Kansas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska. So exactly, I think that we nailed the forecast yesterday. Exactly what we said happened. I couldn't be happier with drawing those circles that I showed you yesterday of where we were going to get our storms, and the mesoscale discussion matched those circles almost identically. So it was great to see that. Let's see if we can do it again. Can we nail the forecast today? Well, what about that hail risk? It's a pretty low chance for hail today. I'm not going to lie, you're going to get some small hail. Anywhere from the northern side of Colorado all the way into Wyoming and Nebraska, and then we're going to go down into places like New Mexico and portions of Texas. We even have a risk for storms off into Nevada and Idaho as well. So what about your hailstones? We're going to call this your pocket change type of hailstones today. Nickels, pennies, dime-size hail. I actually forgot to put an arrow on here. There's no arrow from our hailstone right here. I'll show you what I think today. I think your largest hailstone will be quarter size today. Yeah, not too impressive. I'm not going to lie here. We've got 3 areas that we have pinpointed for hail today. Well, we've got 3 areas that we've pinpointed for storms today. Small hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are going to be the largest or the most important hazards to talk about. That first area for storms down to the south in the Oklahoma, Texas, Panhandle, New Mexico, and Colorado borders. If you go up to the north, we're talking about northern Colorado, so just off the Front Range here into Wyoming, Nebraska, and South Dakota, and then we've got a high wind risk farther off into the west, including Nevada, Idaho, and portions of Oregon. So we've got 3 areas for strong to severe storms today. Let's break this down for you. Between about 3 and 10 o'clock, 2 and 10 o'clock this afternoon, we're watching for scattered showers and storms to go up in New Mexico and track to the east into Texas and Oklahoma. 4 to 10 o'clock, small hail. Now I think this will be the most impressive hail risk that we have for today between Colorado and then up to South Dakota. Small hail, gusty winds is what we're watching for. And then you go out to the west and you've got isolated flooding. If we see a flooding risk, it'll be out in this area highlighted there in red, and some strong wind gusts. So one more time, isolated severe, hail and high wind, and then flooding and strong wind gusts. That's your hazard breakdown today. What we're going to do is we're going to go into each individual area and we're going to talk about the timeline here, but I want to go through the hazard breakdown first. We've got 2 areas for hail today, this one being a little bit more promising than this one farther to the south, but either way I've left that low risk on the board here because I just think it's going to be very, very isolated for severe storms. Your high wind risk, all three of these areas could see strong winds anywhere between 50 to 60, maybe up to 65 miles an hour. But I do think that this area farther out to the west will have the best and most widespread chance for strong wind speeds today. And then of course we have that other risk down in Texas and New Mexico that I was kind of covering up there. Moving on to that tornado risk, it's very low for today. If we do see a tornado, I would honestly be quite surprised. This is not a type of setup that I would expect a tornado to form in. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. Maybe it can prove me wrong. But, you know, Mother Nature's always keeping you on your toes. There's a potential that it could prove me wrong there. Let's start down in Texas and New Mexico. We're starting with high winds and even some very, very small hail this afternoon. So we're talking about storms forming in Mexico, pretty widespread and scattered here. Not everyone getting rain, but you're going to see a lot of clouds pop up, and a few of those clouds are going to produce some strong to severe thunderstorms. A few of these going severe as they move off into Oklahoma and Texas. There's your area for severe weather highlighted in red. Let's move up to the north now. Let's go into Colorado. You've got that area, so we've got a marginal risk in here, but I've actually highlighted an area that goes all the way up into Nebraska for strong to severe storms. You can see that they're pretty isolated to scattered as we head into the afternoon hours. And the biggest potential for storms here, for storm hazards, is going to be that hail smaller than the size of a quarter. If we get hail today, it's going to be in this area. Smaller than the size of a quarter, or maybe up to quarter size hail. High winds, 50 to 60 miles an hour. Again, I just don't think that we are in a good setup for tornadoes or anything majorly severe today. Taking a look at that flood outlook, I did want to point this out because we have a level 1 flood outlook on the west coast here that goes from Oregon to Idaho all the way into Northern California. One thing to note here, if you are in Colorado, I want you to look at this, or New Mexico, I want you to look at this flood outlook for Friday because we are currently 3 days out from this event, and it could be a flooding event anywhere from central to southern Colorado, central to northern New Mexico. We're at a level 1 risk right now, but I do expect this risk to go up to a level 3 risk by Friday. So make sure that you are keeping an eye on those flood concerns on Friday. Just a little note there before we move on. So let's take a look. Here's Wednesday. We've got Thursday, more widespread showers and storms across the northern plains, and then we've got another risk for storms down in southwestern Colorado. Your hail risk today, this area highlighted in green on the northern side of the risk. So we've got North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana. Your hail risk for Thursday, that's where we're focused on. Friday, it's quiet. It really is. It's a quiet severe weather setup. We've also got some quiet activity, or not a ton of activity at all, in the Pacific. So we've got a low pressure system that's sitting across the northern portion of Hawaii right now. Kiko, or the remnants of Kiko, is what this is. This will slowly move to the northwest by Friday, just outside of the impacts of Hawaii. What we're expecting for Hawaii are just some large waves and some high wind speeds, nothing life-threatening there. We've got another area of disturbance that is increasing in the potential for tropical cyclone development. 80% chance over the next 7 days. So I would say by the weekend, we will have our next named storm in the Pacific. The next named storm here will be Mario, but if we go out to the Atlantic, it's quiet. It's like the Atlantic hurricane season took a vacation, which is great for your vacation because there's no hurricanes out there. However, it's quiet for our 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. There is nothing to report here. I say nothing, but we do have a lot to talk about for the Atlantic hurricane season. We have a thick layer of Saharan dust coming off the coast of Africa here. You can see that highlighted in yellow, but those thicker layers are highlighted there in orange. We've got this thick layer that's helping to suppress the Atlantic hurricane season right now. So any storm that tries to form, that layer of dust suppresses it, prevents it from forming, right? That's going to continue to track a little bit closer to the U.S. I'm kind of wondering if we're going to get some hazy skies. There may be some sort of boundary that's blocking it from getting all the way to places like Florida or off the East Coast. We've seen that before. We see that dust move into the Gulf and then go all the way up into places like Texas and Oklahoma, making for some really, really red sunrises and sunsets. But we'll move on here. What is going to happen for our 2025 hurricane season? It's quiet right now. It's very, very rare that this week is so quiet. This is actually usually on average our most active week of hurricane season. And there's nothing going on. These areas highlighted here in white, these lines here, are the tropical storms or hurricanes that we've seen so far this year. So I think we've had five tropical storms, or named storms rather, so far. It's going to be quiet for a while. This will not change anytime soon. This time next week, we could have a completely different story. I put the headline here as "Get Ready" because we are expecting more activity for the last half of September. And this is not rare, it's not uncommon. This has absolutely happened before. If you look back at 2022, this was a very, very similar setup to where we had a few named storms before September 15th, but after September 15th, it was like a light switch turned on, and once it was on, it's on. And it was just named storm after named storm after named storm. So we do expect that to happen as we head into the end of September. We'll have to see what exactly happens here. If we look back to 2024, it really was a similar setup, right? Where we had 5 named storms by the middle of September. Does that sound familiar? That's exactly where we're at this year. Or maybe we've gotten to 6 named storms this year. Is that right, Heather? Yeah, okay, Heather's helping me out over here. She says that's right. Okay, so we've got 6 named storms this year. That's exactly where we are. One more time. That's exactly where we were at in 2024. And then it was like we hit September 15th and it was just storm after storm after storm after storm. Tropical storm, hurricanes. We had Helene, you guys remember that one. We had Isaac, I think you remember that one as well. Everyone remembers Milton, just storm after storm. So we could, of course, see that as we end this season. We are still expecting several more named storms before hurricane season is over. Our hail trace forecast for this year was 12 to 17 named storms, so about average, if not a little above average. 6 to 10 of those will be hurricanes, and 2 to 3 of those major hurricanes. Now, we've already had one major hurricane for this year. That was Hurricane Erin, if you guys remember that one. It was a Category 5 hurricane, which had some historic rapid intensification out in the Atlantic. But moving on to what we would normally see this time of the year, we are just at peak hurricane season, which is why it is so surprising that we don't have a single area of interest in the Atlantic. Not even one area that we're saying, hey, in the next 7 days, this could have some potential. We don't even have that. That's one of the reasons that it's so surprising, because we are normally very, very active this time of the year. Once we do get that next named storm, it'll be Gabrielle, Humberto after that, Imelda after that, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo. So that's where at least Hail Trace has forecasted that we have at least up to Lorenzo this year. So we'll see what happens. There you go, there's your hurricane forecast. Let's go into temperatures here. Are you ready for August to return? I know it's the middle of September, but those summer-like temperatures are looking to make a return by the end of this week. We're talking about temperatures in the 80s, 90s, maybe even mid to upper 90s, especially as you head down into Texas. We've got 97 for a high in Dallas tomorrow. If you take a look at this right here, one of the first things that I see is this high pressure system attempting to build into Oklahoma and Texas. What this is going to do is it's going to suppress our storm development. So the likelihood for severe storms in this area is going to be very low. And then the likelihood for clear skies, sunny days, and of course warm days is going to increase, especially as we head into the weekend. So we're talking about Friday. Here's your high pressure system. What's your temperature? Mid-90s. Just slightly above average for this time of the year. I think for this time of the year, we're usually in the upper 80s and low 90s. Mid-90s, not that unheard of, but it's going to feel a lot hotter than it has been. 98 in St. Louis on Saturday, 96 in Memphis on Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a toasty weekend. You got your t-shirt ready for football? It's not scarf weather yet. And it looks like temperatures are going to stay above average for the middle of September. We're talking about September 15th through the 19th here. We have a high likelihood to stay above average all the way through the middle of the U.S. and even the West Coast getting in that warmer action there. Also, I told you about that high pressure system. It's going to prevent us from having a ton of rain in this area. So you may have to go back to watering your lawn, where a few weeks ago, all of that rain was helping us out, saved us on water bills. I know we're not going to have that for too much longer as we head into the middle of September. However, it looks like we will have more rain as you go farther to the west. And there's your forecast today. Short and sweet because we really don't have a ton going on at this moment. However, later on this week, I think that we'll have more severe activity to talk about. And then, of course, this time next week, we'll probably have more Atlantic activity to talk about. So we will, of course, be updating you with that information as it becomes available to us. In the meantime, we have been posting all kinds of pictures and videos from the Wichita storm last week, from our hurricane chasing in the past. So follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok if you're a weather nerd like us and you like to see that type of video. Also, give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com for a look at our subscriptions. So if you are interested in a hail map, a wind map, a tornado map, all of that is available if you give us a call, or at hailtrace.com, head over to our website for more information. All right, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here same time, same place for your forecast tomorrow.